because even the food banks may be running out of food here in the near future. Who will you rely on then? Have you thought about your family and what you would do if your family was starving? Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, any of you that lived through 2020, at least here in the United States, and are still not preparing, what are you thinking? Look back a year. I know that things look like they're a little bit better now. I know that there's food on the shelves, although a lot more expensive. And I feel that they're going to get more expensive as time goes on because of the problems that we have with shipping, because of the problems that we have with weather, because of the problems that we have with the government printing money out of thin air and putting it out into the economy, therefore flooding the economy with dollars. And as many of us know, and for those of you that don't, the more dollars in the economy chasing the same amount or less amount of goods, the more expensive that those goods are going to be. So if you're not preparing, why are you not prepping? I remember a video that I did last year. I think it was sometime around July, August of last year, where I was saying, listen, you need to get prepped up before this winter. And then what happened the next January, February, and March? We all remember what happened. Shortages everywhere. People getting locked down. People not being able to work. People in food lines that were miles long. Do you remember that time? And if you do, and you're not preparing, then why? What excuses are you using to not be better prepared? You don't want to be labeled a hoarder? It's not hoarding when you're purchasing things that you're going to use anyways, and to use as a form of insurance in case those things become unavailable and or unattainable because of the price. So one of the comments in that video, and I remember it very well, was a person who left a comment, and he said, I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this video because in the video I said make sure that you prep up before November. And he said, I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this video so that I can bring it back up in November when nothing has happened. And that person never got back to me. You know why? Because things did happen. Things did go wrong. Not just on a national level, but on a world level. So are you preparing for this winter? Because this winter, ladies and gentlemen, could be worse than last. Because things have not gotten any better. They may look like they have, but under the surface, they have not. We have supply chain breakdowns. We have erratic weather events happening all over the world. Brazil is getting hit by not only droughts, but by freezes also. They're expecting another freeze that's going to decimate their citrus industry in Brazil. Not is only Brazil being hurt by the lack of corn that they can grow, sugarcane, coffee, but now citrus. And this is just the beginning. We haven't even gotten into the worst months of the year. In my opinion, that's going to be this winter going over into 2022. So consider this your warning. Prepare now and hope that I'm 100% wrong as I do. Can you afford for me to be wrong? Yes, you can. But can you afford for me to be right? No, you cannot. So this is the time to prepare. Slow and steady wins the race. Things are getting more expensive as days go on. I just got an email from one of our community members who said that they were paying $34 a pound for steak. I forgot what cut of beef it was, but they were paying $34 a pound. Incredible. And although prices may come down a little from their all-time highs, they will never go back to where they used to be. You remember those days where you can buy a pound of ground beef for 99 cents and on sale you can buy it for like 69 cents? Remember the days when a can of corn could be purchased on sale, 10 cans for $1? Remember those days? They've never come back, have they? Now a can of corn, if you're lucky, you can get a can of corn on sale for like 70 cents. Regular price, $1. Remember those days? They'll never come back. Today, if you're lucky, you can get ground beef. Maybe, I think I've seen them somewhere around the country from people sending me posts for like $2.99 on sale, but regular price is now $3.99. What happened to those 99-cent a pound days? They'll never come back. That's how inflation works. They shoot up the prices and then they bring them down, but they never bring them back down to where they used to be. They always stay elevated, 1, 2, 3 times what their regular prices used to be. Look at lumber. 1,000 board feet went from the regular price of around $350 per 1,000 board feet all the way to $1,700. And now it crashed all the way to around $650. Do you think it'll ever go back down to $350? I don't know, maybe. But history tells me that it won't. It definitely tells me that it will not. So why are you not preparing? I want to go over a couple short articles with you so that I can just pinpoint some good points that I found in these articles. And this one here says, supply chain shortages preparing for breakdown. Ladies and gentlemen, our infrastructure in everything, at least here in the United States, is just one crisis away from breaking down. Our electrical infrastructure is very fragile. As we've all noticed, our transportation infrastructure, especially for the shipping of goods, is very fragile. Not only due to equipment breakdowns, but also due to the availability of labor. The policies and regulations that are being passed for people that transport our food and our goods from point A to point B have greatly affected the manner in which companies are able to transport those goods. Supply chain shortages are everywhere, seemingly affecting all industries to varying extents. We all know what happened in 2020. Therefore, we all know the underlying causation. And although some people may not talk about it, we know what the underlying causation is, ladies and gentlemen. That is why I always say, make sure that you can take care of yourselves and your families. Because when you count on the government to take care of you, you're counting on false hope. And that's exactly what it is, false hope. The effects continue to ripple through the world. Consequently, all sorts of industry are affected by these shortages, and many are hidden from the public eye. You know, I heard the other day that some used cars are selling for more than the new cars of the same model. Why is that? Because there's tens of thousands of brand new cars sitting in lots, and they can't be sold because they need microchips. And there's a big microchip shortage right now. And that's just cars, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't really affect your life. You being able to buy a new car doesn't really affect your life. But what about all those other things that we depend on that need those microchips? And that's just one thing. And this person here says, I have renewed concerns about supply chain shortages. And I believe that these supply chain shortages, ladies and gentlemen, will be getting worse into the winter. Why? Because winter makes everything more difficult. I am becoming increasingly concerned. My gut instinct feels a bit different than during early 2020. We know a lot more now. We have witnessed what happened. The shortages that did occur. However, this time I have renewed concerns about what may be coming this fall, winter, or maybe sooner. It's never too late to start prepping. Well, for some people it will be. Let me correct myself. For some people it will be too late. Do not be one of those people that is sitting in your car, idling for hours just to get a box of food. Because even the food banks may be running out of food here in the near future. Who will you rely on then? Have you thought about your family and what you would do if your family was starving? And it continues to say that businesses have already been crushed in 2020 until present. And that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Even larger businesses are affected. Industries experiencing all sorts of supply chain disruptions. So when renewed lockdowns and overreactions take place yet again, this is going to be even worse for the supply chains of the world. And ladies and gentlemen, overreaction is what it's all about. When a crisis presents itself, those that are in charge, those that are in control of how we live our lives, they take those crises and they turn it into something that we therefore feel like we need to ask them for help. I'm not saying that the crisis may not be real or naturally occurring, but those crises are turned into something that we the people tend to feel like we need government to fix. Do you want to give up your control to an entity that truly cares not about you? That is why we prepare, ladies and gentlemen, so that we can not only keep the standard of living that we're used to, but so that we can keep our sovereignty and not have to rely on someone else to give us something that we need in exchange for our freedoms. He continues to say, more supply chain shortages coupled with price inflation. Like I stated in the beginning, just one of the things that's going to make our lives harder is not just the shortages, but also the inflation of the monetary supply. Couple this with present inflation, it's bad out there. Costs and prices for everything are up and up. Have you been to the grocery store lately, for example? Trying to buy a good cut of meat, a good steak, it's crazy. And it is. Just referencing back to that email that I received, where this gentleman was paying, well, he didn't say he paid it. He said he could go without it. But $34 for a cut of beef. I don't care how good that cut of beef is, unless it's type A5 Wagyu beef, which is like the best beef in the world. But not just for regular beef that you get off the shelf in some butcher shop or in some grocery store. And he continues to tell his story and his wife's story and what they're going to do about it. And I agree with it. He says, my gut tells me that we're headed towards bigger troubles ahead. Yesterday, my wife and I talked about what we might be doing to help mitigate what may be coming. We're pretty much all set already, given that we have a preparedness lifestyle. So what have we decided to do? And what they have decided to do, ladies and gentlemen, is continue to stock up on all of those things that they already consume. And that's what I've been preaching for years. They're short on beef, so they're going to go ahead and stock up their freezer with beef. Yes, beef prices are high, but do you really think that they're going to get any lower with all of the disturbances that we've had in our supply chain, with all of the weather events that we've had, where ranchers are finding it so difficult to purchase feed at a decent price that they're instead calling their herd or selling off their herd to go to the slaughterhouse? Sure, this excess or influx of beef into the market may make prices come down for a little bit. But what happens when that stock runs out? And he says here's something that we preppers, and if you're not a prepper, should do all the time. Beat the herd. I remember being on a live stream with Wall Street Silver, and we talked about this. I said that preppers are not the problem. Whenever there are shortages, whenever there is panic buying, people often refer to preppers as being hoarders. No, we're not. Preppers stock up slowly but surely over time, never really causing any problems in the supply chain by making the supermarkets run out of goods in one day like panic buyers do. Panic buyers are the problem because they never took the time to prepare ahead of time. So they all rush to the store to get their 20 boxes of toilet paper and 20 cases of water all at once, instead of having stocked up slowly over time. And he continues to say that we might be looking at a major breakdown of the social fabric of a thin veneer society, and the effects will be everywhere. We have been forewarned by Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum, and we have, ladies and gentlemen, we have been forewarned. And he finishes off by saying, you may want to seriously think about an economic breakdown to varying extents, inflation and hyperinflation, cyber attacks on other major infrastructures. The World Economic Forum has told us all this, ladies and gentlemen. They've told us what's coming, so why are you not preparing? There's going to be more lockdowns because of different variants and maybe even different diseases, supply chain shortages, and breakdowns, and then eventually civil unrest at a greater extent than what we are seeing it today. And he finishes up by saying, I don't believe we're going back to the way it was. Well, I don't believe that either, at least in the near future. Now let me go ahead and show you something real quick that I wanted to show you about orange juice, because it seems that Brazil is having another cold wave, I guess you can say, or frost warning, and oranges in Brazil are now threatened to be eliminated because of frost. So that awesome orange juice that we love to drink is going to go up in cost even more. I remember earlier this year I put out a video about the frosts on citrus that were occurring due to the big freeze over in Texas, and also a lot of lost citrus in Florida. And now Brazil, on top of having their coffee crop pretty much decimated, where they've lost on average, I would say, about 50% of their coffee crop, if not more, due to drought and frost. Now they're going to be losing a large portion of their citrus plants due to frost. And it says here that Brazil's top growing regions of coffee, sugar, and oranges are expected to see another round of frost later this week. A cold snap last week sent coffee futures to a 7-year high. Now orange juice futures are skyrocketing. I won't go through this entire article because that's what I wanted to get to. But ladies and gentlemen, the trend is this. We're having erratic weather patterns all over the world that are affecting the production of food. And we need food. In addition to that, we're having extreme droughts in parts of the world as well. I believe I read an article this morning where Arizona was having a major dust storm because of their drought conditions. And we've talked about this in the past, that we are experiencing in the Midwest and West conditions that mimic or are worse than those that happened during the Dust Bowl era in the 1930s, I believe it was. But they're worse than that. And the West just happens to be a very large producer of the food that we consume here in the United States. Couple that with all of the exports that we do. That's making our food even more expensive. Couple that with the day when the government will not be able to subsidize the food that we buy. Believe it or not, even at the prices that we pay for food now at the supermarket, most of those foods are subsidized by the government. What happens when all of that goes away? Have I told you enough during this video? Have I given you enough reasons for you to make sure that you prepare? And if you are preparing, make sure to fill in those gaps. I hope so, because you are the only one that you will be able to rely on when it really counts. So I hope that you heed the warning. Thank you very much for joining in, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. We can make it through this, ladies and gentlemen, but be one of those people that is proactive and not reactive. That is how you can make it through this. Don't wait for an accident to get insurance. Have it prior to. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.
Nutrient survival isn't just survival food. It's special ops grade. Built to the nutritional standards of the U.S. Special Ops and packed with 40 essential nutrients. Formulated to sustain energy, sharpen focus, and keep you and your family thriving during any emergency. Real food, real ingredients. Oh, and a 25-year shelf life. Our meals will kick your taste buds in the mouth and have them coming back for dessert. Yeah, we've got that too. So whether you're digging in or bugging out, you don't just survive an emergency situation, you thrive in it. Nutrient survival. Feed your freedom.